All right. So today we're going to be talking about how to be a powerful communicator. And this is especially for those of you that are going to be communicating from stage, or for those of you that are building a network marketing team and you want to be more dynamic in presenting, or for those of you that are sharing content or information with one-on-one clients, or for those of you that are in the process of getting a job or leading a team. Basically, communication is really central to everything, and learning how to be an effective and charismatic and powerful communicator will help you get everything you want in your life.
Think of it more as the power of presence. So your presence is something you take with you anywhere. And it really is, when you're no matter what business you're in, you need to be able to be present and present yourself. So
yeah, and so as we share some of these basic principles about how to be a powerful presenter, we hope that they help you to have more confidence, because confidence is really where it all begins. Confidence is the key that unlocks your ability to stand in front of an audience and to lead them. Like, you just think about who are the most powerful communicators and presenters you know, and what's common about them. Do you really enjoy listening to people that are timid, that are afraid, that are apologetic, that are, completely lacking confidence? They're really hard to listen to. You almost feel awkward as they're on stage or as they're speaking, because you can tell that they're uncomfortable, that they're nervous, that they're afraid. And so recognize that the first step is to be confident as you're standing up there.
I love audiobooks because you can feel their presence. You can feel their excitement. You can feel the tone, the tones of their voice and all the reflection. And like, I've also noticed that there's a couple books that I absolutely love, and I go to listen to the audiobook, and just because it hasn't been presented right, it's like a miserable listen, but it's one of my favorite books.
Are you talking about The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle?
Oh my gosh. It's like watching paint dry. And I love that book. It's amazing. But listening to him, he's just not super dynamic. But the content is incredible. So that's a perfect example of that.
And the challenge is, even if you have like an amazing message, if you can't deliver it in a powerful way, the people don't receive it. Mm-hmm. And as we talk about confidence, it's not about being braggadocious or overly like cocky about it, because that has nothing to do with confidence. Confidence is your ability to stand on stage knowing that you've got value to deliver. And so we want to teach you how to stand on stage, or to be in front of people, or be in that presentation or that meeting, or speaking with the team, and to have more confidence. And then also how to deliver that presentation in a compelling way that leads them to a specific outcome. And in some way, I think that we're always selling.
Yeah. And some people do this, like some people have that presence naturally, and we think that, oh, well, they have it naturally and I can't do that. So for me, I was one of the most shy people in high school. So incredibly shy, like so incredibly shy that when people would wave to me, they thought I was stuck up, because I was convinced that there's no way they were talking to me or waving at me, so I wouldn't wave back. So I just was so timid and shy. And
I was too. Like, I was so nervous growing up. Like, I was afraid of talking to new people and in groups. Like, I would feel like I would just shrink down. I would always be the one sitting in the corner, like avoiding the spotlight. Like, I was so nervous because I thought that everyone was always judging me, and I was terrified about speaking in front of large groups of people. Like, that was one of the most scary things on the planet to me, to get in front of a group of people and to speak. And it's so funny. I look back at all these stories from my childhood, and for people that know me now and they see me on stage, in front of 100, 500 people, whatever it is, and they see how comfortable I am up there, they have a hard time imagining this version of Gerald from the past, But I want you to picture Gerald in, I think it was third or fourth grade, and we were putting on this play in music class called Thomas Edison. It was a play about Thomas Edison, and there was a certain part that there was a solo, and because all of us kids knew this song, like, we all had it all memorized. And then there was a day that the person that had that solo was gone, and so our music teacher asked for volunteers, and she asked, ask for volunteers. And I raised my hand because everyone else did. And I wasn't actually expecting her to pick on me. She picked on me. I came up, stood in front of this group. And the moment I was in front of them, I was terrified. I was like, ah, right? Like something inside of me like froze at this deep level. And she's over there playing her piano, and she starts playing the music, and it's gearing up to that point where I've got my solo. And I just remember taking a big deep breath in, and I have no idea what happened. I completely blacked out. I completely blacked out. And when I came to, the entire group, the 40 or 50 kids that were all sitting on these rows of benches, in the music room, they were all busting up laughing hysterically. And I was sitting there all awkward, I had no idea what had happened. I had zero idea. That's how nervous I was. I blacked out. And I remember, I was too afraid to even ask anyone what had happened. And that day I went to lunch, and one of the kids oh my gosh, Gerald, that was so funny. I was and I didn't know what to respond. But from that moment forward, I was terrified about speaking in front of groups, and I would, be asked to speak at church, all these different things. And I would just be nervous, and I'd write out my entire talk, and I would just be reading it, and I wouldn't be connecting with the audience at all. And I was just really, really, really afraid and had a lot of stage fright. And, not surprising, so often in life, we're called to do that thing which scares us the most. And so when I felt the urge or impression that I needed to start doing workshops and seminars, it terrified me. It scared me so much, because I had that memory from when I was a child, and all these other memories where I lacked confidence, and I lacked skill, and I lacked ability to connect. And I felt very, very inadequate in those moments. And I want to share with you some things that helped me to overcome that stage fright. And also we want to share just some ideas of how to gain more presence on stage or in front of people, and how to deliver your message more powerfully.
Yeah.
So here's some ideas. If you ever experience being nervous in putting on your own presentation, speaking in front of a group of people, meeting with a significant client, or enrolling someone into what you do, then here's some ideas of how to overcome that, so that you can, number one, have more confidence, and then through that confidence, have more ability to persuade and to influence. Because understand, persuasion, influence, and sales is nothing more than leadership. You are leading them to a specific outcome. And the only way that you can lead them is to, number one, have that confidence. And then number two, that you actually build that trust with them. So here's how I overcome stage fright. Number one, first and foremost, get out of your head. Get out of your head. I want you to imagine you're standing in front of an audience right now, and there's 200 people in the room. And imagine how it feels like when you're in your head. What are you thinking about? When I'm in my head, I'm thinking about, okay, what do I need to talk about? What do I need to cover? What do I need to do? What are they thinking? And I'm worrying, okay, what are they judging me for? Are they going to buy? Are they going to be interested in what I have to sell? Oh no, that person is nodding off. That person's not interested. Oh, this isn't working. I shouldn't be up here. And all of these cyclone of negative thoughts starts circling through my mind. And I'm just worried. And the experience is almost outside looking in. I'm seeing myself through their eyes, and I'm incredibly self-conscious. This is what happens when I'm in my head. And when I'm in my head, I'm worried about what I need to say. And I've got a specific script or agenda for my presentation. That is death for the presenter, having a specific agenda. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't be prepared, because you should. And preparation looks different for different people. For some people, having a memorized presentation is what really works. It really, really serves them to have things written out and planned and prepared and memorized, and that they know exactly. And that works for some people, not me. No, that is an ultimate recipe for me to disconnect with the audience and to get totally stuck and to have no influence. For me, it's just the opposite. I get really clear with my intention, but then I get out of my head and get into my heart. And this is the first key. Get out of your head, get into your heart. What does it feel like? Just imagine right now that you're in front of those 200 people and you're fully in your heart. What does that feel like? As you look out on the audience, rather than you worrying about them judging you, what are you focusing on? For me, it's like, how can I serve these people? They're all here. They're looking at me for a reason. And once again, whether it's 500 people, 200 people, 100 people, or one person, or 10 people in a boardroom, whatever, like the numbers are irrelevant, because I want you to remember this. Never speak to an audience. Never speak to an audience. You're always speaking to an individual. When I'm at my events and I've got a large group of people, I'm not speaking to an audience. I'm not worried about reaching 200 people. I'm worried about the one person. And when you focus on that one person, you think, wow, what do they need? How can I serve them? Then it's an inside out experience where the energy comes from your heart. Look, I'm even making a little heart. It comes from your heart to them. And it's like this energy that flows out of you. And when I'm really connected in my heart, I never have to worry about the words inside my mind. I never have to worry about what I'm going to say. I never have to worry about the agenda or the script. Like, there's something deep inside that just like wants to come out, and it connects with people. And as I'm looking at one person at a time, as I'm speaking one person at a time, I'm looking at them in their eyes. I'm focusing on, what do they need right now? How can I serve them? How are these words impacting them? What examples could I be? And my mind is constantly trying to find out how I can make it more valuable for them. And for me, like, this is by far the single most important key. Get out of your head. And sometimes, once again, preparation is really important. And when I first started doing workshops and seminars, I would like memorize the first 5 minutes of my speech, and I would have everything all figured out. But I realized that oftentimes the more I prepare, I get stuck in agenda and I disconnect from heart. So for me, it's really important that I do my preparation, figure out what I want to do, what are the stories and examples I want to share, but then to trust my intuition as I'm sharing. So that's the first key of being a powerful, confident communicator and leader, is number one, get out of your head and into your heart. Second key is to realize it's not about you. When we're teaching from ego, we're worried about what's in it for me. How can I get the most out of it? Powerful leaders don't do that. Powerful leaders aren't worried about what's in it for you. You're focused on, how can I serve? How can I lead them? How can I really help them? And so when you're really asking, and you realize that it's not about you, it's about them, there's no more stage fright, because it's not about how good you look. It's not about getting the applause at the end. It's not about even the sales that you make. The sales, the applause, the result will happen when you realize it's about them and they feel it's about them. And so even as you're sharing stories, as you're sharing personal anecdotes, it's not about boasting, okay, here's the things I've done. Here's all the reasons why you should admire and look up to me. Here's all the, like, it's not about that at all. Your stories that you share of your own personal life should be designed to help them see themselves more clearly. I'm going to emphasize that again. When you realize it's not about you and it's about them, even when you're sharing your own personal stories, it's about them and their experience and their journey. And even as I share my story of, being a little kid and having stage fright or being nervous or putting on my first event, like all these things, it's not about my journey. I'm not looking for applause or accolades. I'm looking for, okay, can they see themselves in their situation? Can they imagine themselves overcoming this same experience? And that allows the connection to happen. And it's so amazing, because when you're on stage and you're connected, there's just this flood of energy that flows between you and the audience. Like when your heart is wide open, there's this natural flow of energy that fuels your presentation, and it will help bring the words and the examples into your mind that they need to hear, because it's not about you, it's about them. Third key is this: state management. Managing the energy of yourself and of the room. And so let me give you some examples of state management and why this is so important. Remember when I did one of my first events, I actually invited Tony Robbins' son Jarek to come speak at my event, and I was talking to him about his dad, and I've been to one of Tony Robbins' events, and I was so amazed because he has such incredible stamina, by far one of the most powerful communicators I've ever witnessed on the planet, just incredibly dynamic and successful. And of course, over the last 40 years, he's touched, tens of millions of lives, doing what he does. And he's developed so much energy. But as I watched him present, I was amazed at his level of energy and passion, right? And Tony Robbins is a larger than life character. Like he's literally like 6'8", 6'9", I don't know. He's tall, he's dynamic, he's incredibly energetic, and he can be on stage all day long. And I was like, how does he do that? How does he maintain that level of energy for so long? And what his son Jarek told me is like, before he gets on stage, there's a couple things he does. Number one, he makes sure that he's eating like a really clean diet, and he's got certain green drinks that have been formulated to help him manage his energy, and he makes sure that his body's been nourished in an appropriate way. And I want you to think about this. And even if it's just before you go meet one-on-one with a potential new client, or meet one-on-one with a boss, or meet one-on-one with, someone that you want to partner with, whatever, just make sure that your body is energized. Make sure that you've eaten some energetic, healthy, whole foods. Like, that's so important. I notice that when I have been eating lousy before getting on stage, if I don't have a good breakfast, if I don't have a smoothie or whatever before getting on stage, I notice that I lose energy very quickly in the presentation. And even throughout the day, making sure that you're continuing to energize your body, especially if you're doing longer format events and seminars, making sure you've got snacks planned, water, you're drinking plenty of water, you're doing those things. But here's the second thing that Jarek said that Tony Robbins does. Before he gets on stage, behind the stage, he's got a curtain, and behind the curtain, he's got like this little mini trampoline. And so Tony Robbins, before he gets on stage, he'll just be on the trampoline, just jumping up and down and just getting in a powerful state. And he's got these statements that he says about how what his purpose, what his mission is. And he's anchoring in this like really powerful dynamic state and getting him to a level 10 energy, so that when it's time and say Tony Robbins and he comes out on stage, number one, they've got everyone else in the audience already pumped up and excited. But as he comes up there, he's just on fire, and he's just ready to rock it out of the park right from the beginning. And I want you to think about how important this is to be in a powerful physical state when you present. Like, it changes everything, because as you get on stage, you're already exuding this incredible level of confidence. When you're in that powerful state, the words will just flow through you. Like, all of this ability to connect and lead the audience will just be natural. Just like the message that Krista shared about powerful state management, and this study about body language, about how to demonstrate how to be in a, before you go to a job interview, just the study that was done of people that would just hold themselves in a power posture before they walked in the room, right? How they tended to show up way more confident, way more capable when they'd have those interviews. Why? Because they were managing their state. And so that's the third key, is state management before you get on stage. And so for me, oftentimes, if I'm in the back of the room and they're bringing me up, I'll just put on headphones, or I'll just be focusing on the experience I want to have, and I'll envision the audience like having an amazing experience. And before I get on stage, I'll be like jumping up and down and kind of like getting my heartbeat going a little bit, so that when it's time for me to go up on stage, like I'm already in that peak energy. So the fourth key, and the final key that I'm going to share right now in terms of how to be in that powerful energy of presenting, is this. It is focus on making sure you know what the first couple minutes of your presentation are. Like, if you can allow yourself to get on stage, like, this is my process. I'll get on stage, I'll ground. What I mean by grounding is I'll feel both feet planted firmly on the ground, and then I'll focus on taking a couple big deep breaths in, and I'll scan the audience and I'll connect with the audience just as I'm sitting there. And as I'm doing that, I'm intentionally feeling this energy and allowing myself to be in this space of inspiration. And I'm planting my feet, firm. I'm not like walking around. I'm not leaning on one foot. I'm planting both feet firmly on the ground, connecting and scanning through the audience. And then I always know what are the first couple things that I'm going to be focusing on. What are the first engaging questions that I'm going to be asking? You always want to start with something that's going to capture their attention, whether it's specific questions that you're going to ask. How many of you are ready for an amazing 3 days? Or how many of you would love to learn how to manifest everything you want in your life? And as I'm doing this, like as I'm asking questions, I'm going to be raising my hand really high to get the audience to do the same. And as I'm asking these questions, it's designed to start building this conversation with the audience. And this is a really important skill for presenters, is knowing how to ask questions and get a response. And it seems like it should be super intuitive, yet so many people mess this up. Either they barely raise their hand or they don't raise their hand at all, demonstrating or modeling what they want the audience to do, or they ask really ineffective questions that only a small percentage of the audience raises their hand for, or they'll even ask questions that they don't want the audience to answer at all, and those are all things that disconnect you from the audience. So be really clear. What are some enrolling questions that I can get for everyone to participate in and to model it, demonstrate it? And I do this thing too, where I want to make sure that the audience knows that I'm listening, that I'm paying attention, that I'm serious when I ask them a question. So if I ask a question, how many of you love to learn how to manifest everything you want in your life? And I raise my hand, and if only 20 or 30% raise the hand at the beginning, I'm like, okay, seriously, how many of you? And I'll ask the exact same question a second time, and I'll hold my hand up there until I see everyone raise their hand. What does that do? It establishes me as a leader. It establishes me as someone that is sincere about getting them to respond. It shows that I'm listening, that I care, and it also shows them that I mean business and like I want them to move forward. And so that demanding a response is sometimes very, very valuable to engage them in the conversation, to sell them on why they should listen to you. I'm going to have Krista share a few more ideas on how to, have power stances and how to have powerful body languages and some other things that will help you to maintain confidence. And I just want to reiterate these 4 things, because these 4 things will help you to have incredible stage presence right from the beginning and clear any fear of public speaking. Number 1, we talked about, what did we talk about? What was the first one? Getting out of your head, getting into your heart. That's what we talked about. Get out of your head, get into your heart. That's the first key. Second key is remember it's not about you. It's about the audience. Focus on serving them. How can you help them? Make it about them. Make the stories, the examples. Everything is about you leading them to what they want. You are there to lead them to their goals and dreams. That's why they're there. And just make sure that your content, your stories, your conversation is all designed to help them get real meaningful results. Number 3, manage your state. Be in a powerful state before you get on stage. And the 4th key is make sure that you have the first couple minutes set, that you know what you're talking about for the first couple minutes. Here's what I noticed. If I can get through the first minute or 2 on stage, then all of a sudden I relax and it allows me to connect with the audience. Like I'm no longer in my head if I can get through those first couple minutes. But if I'm worried about, okay, what am I going to say right from the beginning, it's sometimes hard for me to do that. So make sure that you're prepared for those first couple minutes and that you know what is the end outcome. This is what's really important. Focus on what is the end outcome? Where do I want to go? And then as you're leading them, you're just trusting your intuition as you guide them through that process.
Yeah. So a couple of the things that were coming up as he was talking, if you like, I was reading statistics, and people are 20 times more likely to remember what you're telling them if you put it in a memorable story. So when you're telling them, skills and tools and stuff like that. If you're a coach, or if you're, most of you have something that you're launching, or if you're in an interview, like if they ask you if you're responsible, you know, for you, Paula, if you can tell them a story of how responsible you are, or whatever they're asking you, if you can give them a short story of, you know, how that applies to you, it's going to be 20 times more memorable. One of the other things, so your stage presence, or your presence period, in any, even just if you're a single guy and you're talking to girls, your presence is one of the most important things. It's the first thing that a person sees. And it is, people judge you within the first 10 seconds of whether or not you're someone that they are going to listen to, going to value, how they have a prejudgment. We all do it. We try not to judge, but we all do it. And especially when it's in any of you guys who are doing, like Cindy, you're doing your event this week, 2 more days. And so for you, one of the things that I was specifically thinking for you is, as you're doing your event, I would make sure that you have 2 people there to support you, at least, of your kind of staff, your team. And one of those, I would have them keeping time for you. Make sure that you kind of have a brief outline of what you want to do. I know there's certain presenters who are so incredibly dynamic and have a tendency to go off on tangents and go off on stories for like 20 minutes when the event's only an hour long and you've gone 40 minutes into, I don't know anybody here that does that. So just making sure that you have a timekeeper, somebody to kind of keep you on task, and have a brief outline of what you want to go over. One of the biggest things that I wanted to go over with you guys today about presence is your body language. What are you communicating to whomever you're interacting with? Are you communicating confidence? Are you communicating, and different poses? Sorry guys. Oh, it's Cindy. Let me answer that. So we're only answering because it's Cindy, and she's logged in twice. So yeah. So anyway, I'm going to kind of back this up really quick, and I just want to kind of show you when you're, here are some of the things that Gerald told me when I first went on stage, which I thought were so valuable. But notice this is really kind of comes into play when you're just interacting with people or anything else. So you called it T-Rex arms, keeping my arms to kind of to the side or tight into your body. So making sure that you're using your body to talk, using your arms, making sure you're not crossing. If you're listening to somebody else, it's okay to cross, but don't cross in front of you like this. What do they call it? The fig leaf. And draws attention to places you probably don't want them thinking about right then. And one of the things really that I feel like is so powerful is making sure you get a few minutes before any of those conversations, or we talked about anchoring in your power stance. And just really making sure that you're in that powerful place. Most important, like he said, connect with your heart. Visualize what you want the outcome to be. And you can do this for any conversation, for even just interaction with your partner. Visualize what the outcome you want to be. Lower your barriers. And these are all tools that we've talked about before. And if you're newer to the group, give me a call and I'm happy to send you something or go over it with you. But lower your barriers, expand the space, and just really get it present of what's the gift that I want to be right now? How can I be that gift? What about this is so important to me? I know for me that when I get into that heart place, it doesn't need to be scripted or anything else. Just when I have that intention to connect, intention to break through, it shifts so much. And so get a really clear intention on when we focus on our intention instead of the nervousness, it takes so much of that away. So yeah, we have so much content when it comes to just power of presence. And I'd love for you to share just a couple of like body language tips. I know you shared some.
So don't do this when you're speaking. Don't do this. Just kidding. Well, helpful. Oh, you want some helpful tips. So much of it is like learning how to plant your feet so you're in a stable position. And then to also use the whole space. Yeah. Like when you're on stage specifically, to make sure that you know that you have the whole stage and you have more. You get down off the stage, and as you're interacting with people, like walk up and down the aisles or walk around the room. If you're speaking to a group of people like in a boardroom in a space, don't just stay static in one space. Use the room, be loose and relaxed, and then pause and plant your feet. Know that it's okay for you to be still and to hold that space of intention. Kristen mentioned in terms of hands, just be aware, that you're not using distracting hand motions or that. But I find that so much of it is, it just, the more you do it, the more natural it will be for you to just be in a space of confidence as you're presenting. And what I want to cover right now is a very simple outline for doing a presentation, a very simple template. I don't necessarily script out what I'm going to say or do, but I do have a core template. If I'm speaking at someone else's event and I only have 60 minutes to speak, I'm going to be going through this core outline. And so as I share this with you, I find that it's a very useful template, and just know that there are so many different ways to present that it's not law or required that you follow this exact template every single time, step by step. But there's a beautiful thing about just knowing the sequence, because then you can basically do any presentation based on the same outline. So here's a couple things. Assuming that you've done everything before the event to prepare, you know who your audience is, you know what your message is, then here's the outline. You get on stage, connect with your audience, and then the first step is attention getter, okay? The attention getter is going to come in one of a couple different forms. Number one, it could be enrolling questions, either 2 to 3 enrolling questions asking how many of you would love to learn this, how many of you have ever experienced this, how many of you are excited about this. So asking specific questions that engage your whole audience to be like present, and especially if your questions lead them to what your presentation is going to be about, making sure that the questions are relevant. So enrolling questions are my favorite way of doing it because it starts building some interaction. But some other ways to grab people's attention too is to get on stage and to dive straight into a super engaging story, like a really interesting story. You know how it is, like when you're watching TV and a show comes on, you flip channels and it's right in the middle of an intense scene. Pull them into a story like that where they're like, oh my gosh, what is going to happen next? It'll catch them off guard and it'll get them engaged and enrolled very quickly because it's just grabbing their attention. Another thing is, like, sometimes a really powerful or inspiring quote might be a way to start off, or a funny joke sometimes is a great way to start.
That's what I was just thinking. Is I really love, oh my gosh, I can't think. Joke first, and it's really they're stupid little jokes, but it's really captivating.
Yeah,
you'll find something that's your niche. Find your favorite speakers and see what do they do to engage the audience right off the bat.
So those are some really powerful things to get started. So the first is the attention getter, which is designed to be really short, but start building that connection with the audience and engage them. The second step of it is to introduce the presentation. Today I'm going to be talking about this. Today's presentation is called this, like to really let them know. And part of the introduction is covering what's in it for me. Everyone that's sitting there, know that they want you to succeed. They want you to have an amazing presentation. They want you to be powerful, engaging. Like, they're on your team. They're looking at you. It's like, please be awesome. They want you to be awesome. So just know that. And in the introduction, you cover WIIFM, which is what's in it for me. And this is where you talk about, in the next hour, we're going to be talking about how to ... We're going to be sharing 3 tips to be able to do this. We're going to be sharing with you how to right? And everybody wants to know how to right? Like, it's really, the importance, the key of this part of the presentation is you're selling them on listening to you. You're seeding their mind, and you're making them say, wow, I really want to know what this is all about. I really want to know what's going to be covered. Like, I want to stay for this entire presentation because I want everything that they just mentioned. So that's the introduction and the what's in it for me. The third step is your hero's journey. So the hero's journey is where you get to share a little bit about your story and why you're qualified to teach them, because that's the other question that they're going through the mind is like, what's in it for me and why should I listen to you? And hero's journey is one of the most powerful ways for them to be drawn into listening to you. So hero's journey is basically you sharing what qualifies you as an expert. And I don't think you should say, hey, this is the degree I got, this is what I'm super successful. These are like, people don't want to hear about that. It's not about you boasting about all the successes you've had. What qualifies you to be an expert is all the challenges you've gone through. And so while you might stand up and say, I'm so grateful in my life because I've been able to experience this, I've been able to experience this, and to share, like, I'm going to share a model that I call the dip. So you can share like the peak. It's like, I'm so excited because, I've been so blessed with this financial success. I have the financial freedom I want, have the relationship of my dreams. I have, I'm healthier now than I've ever been, but it wasn't always that way. It's not about you boasting about all your success, although that's part of them seeing, wow, that's the things I want to have. But you really want, where the connection happens is when they understand that you've been through what they've been through. So when you say, but it hasn't always been that way, you take them through this dip and you take them back to a story or an example where things weren't working out. You take them back to the deepest challenge that you've experienced. And so for me, for instance, if I'm talking about a financial presentation, I'm talking about creating, abundance and learning how to create financially and being an entrepreneur, I'll share, the peak, all the blessings that I've been able to enjoy, but then really quickly, but it wasn't always that way. I remember very clearly, it was 2 a.m. and I take them straight into the heart of a story where I talk about my divorce and I talk about my bankruptcy and I talk about when I was at rock bottom. And then it transitions, and what I learned at that time, the decision I made about myself, the decision I made that changed my life forever, and this is where you take them back to the peak, is I learned 3 specific tools that turned everything around. And over the next 3 years, I was able to do this and this and this. Basically, you want to take them through this from the top down to the bottom and let them feel what it felt like, really connect emotionally to that story. And that story is about them being able to see, that you've been where they're at. And that creates so much connection. And then you take them back to that peak where it's just says, and over the next 3 years, I studied this and I learned this. You don't need to go through all of everything you did over that time in that part of your hero's journey. They just need to know that you learned or experienced some important things. And that leads straight into the content. And this is where you introduce the content. And so what I want to share with you is the 3 specific things I learned that helped make that transition possible. Who wouldn't like to learn that, right? And you guide them on setting up the content that they're going to learn. And with each content, I build it into chunks. Like when you teach in frameworks, it makes it so much easier to learn, like the 5 steps or the 3 steps, or here's the different things. Like it creates a sequential order to it, makes it feel more substantial, and it's easier to remember, easier to follow. So make each of the pieces of content memorable and impactful, and make sure that they also fit along with your core objective to them and what you want them to be doing at the end of the presentation. So, in terms of content, here's what I recommend. The content is introduce the principle, share what the principle is. The second step is to share a story, either a personal anecdote, a story, or an example from you or one of your clients that reflects that story. So teach the principle, share the story, and then give direction, or let them know what the next step is. And then do that with each of the different sections you're going to be teaching. Share the principle, share a story, and if there's a specific action you want them to take with it, let them know. And so after you've taught the content, this is going to be the bulk of your presentation. This is where the majority of your meat is going to be taught. Then the final steps is the call to action, what you're leading them to do. And it totally depends if you're trying to sell something, or if you want them to sign up for a one-on-one presentation with you, or if you want them to just go take an action in their life. Like, get really clear, and this is what you need to know beforehand. What do you want them to do at the end of the presentation? There's a whole formula for selling from stage or selling at a presentation. I'm not going to go over that right now, because that includes seeding the product, going over the product, talking about the bonuses, talking about the guarantees, sharing testimonials, doing a limiter and limiting the offer, having a very strong call to action, having a discount. Like, there's a sequence of things that are required if you're going to be selling things, and it's a very, very specific process. But for right now, what I find is most useful to most people is to engage them into a one-on-one conversation. And this is what I recommend, especially for coaches and speakers and healers and people that sell high-level programs or products, is to engage them into a more personalized experience where you can be offering whatever the higher level product that you have is. And so what I recommend with this is to really reinforce the things you've talked about. Today we've talked about this and this and this and this. And hopefully this is a start to help you move forward. And I have a special gift for you. And so this is where I'm going to offer to the audience, if I'm speaking in front of a group, an opportunity to do a one-on-one meeting with me, or if I have a sales team that's going to support them. And the call to action for that, once again, you want to be selling something specific and something interesting. Even if you're offering it for free, you're still selling it. You still have to let them know why it's valuable for them, why they should participate in it, why it's going to be worth their time and energy to take advantage of it. And so just a very simple call to action, if I'm doing a one-on-one strategy session or something at the end of it, is I'm going to say, hey, I hope this has served you, and I understand that in everyone's life, there's very specific things that are unique. And so what I want to offer is this. I want to offer an opportunity right now for you to sign up for a one-on-one consultation with me. And I want to do this at no charge. This is something that normally is, I charge $250 for, but because you're here right now, I want to give this as a gift because I know that it will help you to get the result that you want. And during this special breakthrough strategy session, we're going to be talking about what is it that you're wanting to achieve? What are the goals that you have over the next 6 months? And then the next thing that we want to look at is where are you at right now? Where are you feeling stuck? What are the biggest final step is we're going to be exploring what are the next steps? What are the most important things for you to be doing so we can help you identify your own personalized strategy. And we'll also explore whether or not one of the programs we have will support you in getting what you want faster and easier. If you're interested in having this free breakthrough strategy session, then this is where you give them the clear call to action. And here's a couple different samples. It's like, here's a sign-up sheet. I'm going to be passing it around. Fill out your name and your email address and your phone number and set up a specific time. That's one way. Or you could drive them to the back of the room. Go to back to the room right now and sign up. this is important that your call to action is the very last thing, because if you start doing stuff after, it will confuse them, it will diffuse the energy, and all of the call to action will be wasted because they get distracted. The call to action has got to be the very last thing you do. Go back to the back of the room right now, sign up for this one-on-one strategy session. Thank you so much. Or the last way to do it, which is honestly maybe one of the most effective, is saying, all right, if you're interested in doing this, go ahead and pull out your cell phones right now and go ahead and text your name and your email address to this number and give them your cell phone number. There are text opt-in services that you can create to be able to do this, but give them direction. Once again, as a leader, you're like, give them step by step. Take your cell phone out right now. Give them time to do that. As they pull out their cell phone, then it's, all right, go ahead and type in this number. Put your name, your email address, and send it right now. And then what I recommend is you send them back a link where you send them your time trade link or your schedule me link or whatever, a link where they can set up their one-on-one appointment with you. And when you do this, it just creates so much momentum. And then when you sit down in that one-on-one presentation, they already respect you as an expert. They already understand you're a master of what they do. They've been sold on you having a roadmap for them. And then the one-on-one consultation is just simply time for you to figure out what are the real challenges they're dealing with, what do they want, and does one of your programs have the ability to help them get what they want. And so I hope this serves you as you're out there being a powerful presenter and learning how to dynamically share your message from stage. And just know that as you do this, that you can use these principles, whether you're building a network marketing team or whether you're, influencing a team that you're working with or you're presenting from stage. All of these things will help you to be a powerful presenter.
So a couple of things I wanted to add to that is, and I'm actually just going to pose this as a question. What things do you do? Like, one of the things I notice is when you want to watch the energy of the room. And if they start disengaging, there's some ways to re-engage them. And then, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is what I recommend. Managing the energy of the room is like one of the keys to being a dynamic presenter. And there's different ways you can do it. Some people are really good at just making the audience laugh and keeping them engaged in like really emotional stories throughout your presentation. You want to take them on a roller coaster ride, right? And you want to keep them engaged. And the other thing too is I love making my learning experiences experiential. Like to engage them in a process where they're either talking to each other or they're standing up or they're going through a fear breakthrough process or they're doing a journaling exercise. When you give them an exercise to do, it makes the presentation about them and not you. This is a difference between a trainer and a speaker. Like public speakers, they get up on stage and they'll just speak, and the audience, like for me, like when I listen to a traditional public speaker, even the dynamic ones, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so boring, right? Because I don't feel like I'm part of the conversation at all. I don't feel like it's about me. I feel like it's about them, and I totally get tuned out because I'm not participating in the conversation. So a trainer is entirely different. When you're training, you're going to give them processes to do. You're going to have them turn to the partner and share with them, what are you learning? What you're experiencing? What have you done? And then depending on the timeline, you just want to make it as interactive as possible. And the other thing that works great for state changes is just asking them questions and getting them to share and having them share their input. And it's either short questions, it's just like, okay, what's one word that is your intention? And just having a bunch of people share, or you have individuals stand up and share their bigger experience. Anytime you have the audience participating, engaging, the whole audience becomes incredibly engaged. And then there's other state changes where I'd be raising their hand or giving the partner next to them a high five or having them stand up, having them team up in partners, whatever. Like, be really intentional, because I noticed after 2 or 3 minutes of just speaking, the audience starts to like disengage. And so if you give them something to do, then it makes them so that they're re-energizes the presentation.
Yeah. So Cindy asked which appointment things you use. So Time Trade, and what was the other one?
There's one called Schedule Me. There's another one called Appointee. There's a bunch of different tools out there to help you to share your message.
Yeah.
And to make the appointment process so much easier, because I hate the follow-up of, back and forth, like phone tag or messaging back and forth and trying to chase someone down. I always try to get the appointment set up at the event or experience where we're going to be following up. So hopefully these serve, and just remember that you have a powerful message. So go share it with the world.
Yeah. And so